Right then, Neil. First of all, 10 games in seems like a decent time to kind of take stock, I suppose. And after that drawing midweek, I just wonder how satisfied you are, given the challenges you've had as well at times at the start of this season. How satisfied or otherwise are you with where you are 10 games into this season and the position you are sixth in the league? Not that you can read too much into that. But.
Yeah, a little bit mixed. I genuinely feel like we should have gone unbeaten up until now, and that's based on the actual games we played. You know, it's just been silly stuff that has cost us, and I don't think, you know, we get all the data back obviously from our owners on the games and how they pan out and who should win them, and there hasn't been a game that we haven't come out, you know, on top most of the time comfortably. So I'm disappointed in that, but then obviously if you don't defend your set pieces at times or you don't take your chances, these things can happen. So but overall, I feel like we're on the right track. You know, I think what we're averaging 1.7 points per game at the moment, which is playoff form, but we need to try and push for more than playoff form.
So difficult when you look at the league table, and you know, whether you do look at league tables this early or not, I don't know, but the two teams above you have played 8 and 13 games respectively. It's such a mishmash at this early stage. It's difficult to know what to read into different teams, isn't it?
That's why, as I said just then, that's why I try and work off of points per game, because it's the trajectory of where, you know, if you stay along that line where you might be, and 1.7 points will get you X amount at the end of the season, and you know, normally that will get you, say, 5th in the league. So, you know, it might then give us a guide that we're actually, our form is that of 5th or 6th in the league compared to, you know, whether you're 2 games down or 2 games above the rest of the team. So, you know, I've got my own theories on who looks the strongest team in the league at the moment and where we are in relation to it all. And we do need to improve, and we need to be more consistent, and we need to, you know, grind out a 1-0 win on Wednesday rather than a 0-0 draw. So there's loads of points we've left out there, but it's going to be a long haul. Given
the last few results, and of course you could so easily have got the win had you actually been given the penalty you should have had in midweek. I wonder whether this season you do now split into 3 almost. You know, you'd had that good start where you're on the run, you've had the middle bit where you had the challenges behind the scenes with players having COVID, but it seems like you've now got through that. Does that middle one almost get discounted because of the challenges now, given that it feels like you're back where you were before?
Yeah, I think so. I think it does feel like... there is no excuses anyway. We had lots of excuses last year. You know, if you go through everything that happened to the club in the summer, we had loads of excuses. The summer's the bedrock of your season. This season, you know, we had the playoffs, and then, you know, we've hit the ground running thereafter, or should have been hitting the ground running. So there's no excuses. I think everyone's going to go through COVID, having games off at some point. Hopefully that will level itself out. You know, every team suffers from injuries. We've got quite a few at the same time at the moment, but we're still managing to dig out some results. And like I said before, the owners in the summer were brilliant. They supported and tried to improve the team. So, you know, like I said, judge us on 46 games. That's going to be the benchmark, but certainly no excuses from us at the moment.
And I'd like to ask you about Enzio Baldwin, who we've just been speaking to, who scored a couple of goals from inside the penalty area lately, which is an extraordinary thing to say about Enzio, given the goals he's always scored in the past. Is that something you've consciously worked on him with, to try and get him into those positions as well as him scoring the worldies?
I wouldn't say necessarily worked on him with, but I would say that he's well aware that if he doesn't put the hard yards in to be in them positions, that I'm going to be on his case. So, because... players like Enzio, Cal Roberts, the same. You know, they're very good at doing work to get on the ball, because that's what they like. They like the ball at their feet. It's, you know, you look at, say, someone like Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard's Chelsea's top ever goal scorer, but the hard yards Frank Lampard put in to be in the positions when that ball dropped in the box to finish them is what people don't see, and that's what people like Enzio, Cal Roberts, who want to have the ball at their feet. They also need to make the hard yards to get in the box to score the goals that are more messy, so to speak, than the ones they normally do.
So what could that do for him then? Are you thinking that might kind of almost double his goal tally over a season if you get into those positions as an extra thing?
Yeah, it's just pushing him to be the fittest player he can be as well. You know, if you've got players like, let's say, Cal Roberts or Tom Walker going down one wing looking to make something happen, and Enzio's sort of hanging outside the box seeing if the ball comes to his feet, you're never going to score from the deliveries from that side of the pitch, you know. So it can't just be Carl Wooten looking to get on the end of crosses, you know. Ruben needs to try it, Elijah needs to try. You know, the other day Elijah was back post 3 or 4 times early on in the game, waiting for the ball to come to him. And, you know, I kept trying to encourage him to go and find it in the box, you know, don't just stay out the back. And then all of a sudden he comes across the near post and the goalie has to make a great save and he had a chance to score a goal. So that's the message we're giving players: make up the hard yards to get there, but also, you know, don't just hang around, be sort of proactive inside that box. And I think Cal, Enzio, they can all improve at that because they're ball players.
Woking then, this time, another team up near with you at that end of the table. What kind of test are you expecting?
I think first and foremost, really important, their manager, Douse, does an unbelievable job. I mean, they haven't got a huge budget at all, but you know, they really give tough games to everyone they play, you know, and the fact that they're up there is no fluke, you know, and they're very, very, very high energy. You know, one thing you need to match is how hard they're going to work in the game. They won't come and not work hard. They're all on the same page. They're very good picking up second balls. They break quick. But they're probably the biggest threat is their set pieces, you know, and that's not to be sniffed at, because you have to work hard to be good at set pieces, and they are very good at them both. You know, even if it's from the halfway line, they'll put a lot of people into the box and they'll say this is another chance to enter your box, and have lots of bodies around it, long throws, corners. They've got lots of different routines. They're very aggressive. So, you know, it's going to be a really tough game, because they're not going to give us an inch between the boxes in open play. And then they're very good in the boxes, which is why they're higher than their sort of budget probably would suggest, and why their manager needs a lot of praise.
Great stuff. Thank you, Neil.
Thank
I'll
you.
stop there. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Over to you, Lee.
Neil, just on Enzo, I mean, we just briefly chatted about his form, and that he's obviously finding his feet a little bit, but said that he knew that he wasn't in form himself. Just what's it been like as a manager to welcome him back into sort of that kind of quality that he showed last season, and have you sort of had to put an arm around his shoulder to try and get him back up to speed?
Bit of both. I think with managers it can't just always be arm around the shoulder. I mean, he's had the arm, he's had the rocket, he's had a little bit of everything. He's a good lad. I've got a very good relationship with him, so I feel like I can deliver that sort of news and feedback to him. And you know, at the end of the day, we're all here for a reason, to try and bring success to this club. And anybody that's not pulling their weight, it's my job to make sure that they know, and to try and find a way of, you know, the old school way was just to rip their heads off and leave them out the squad. My way is to try and do that, you know, give them a rocket, but also encourage them, put an arm around them, and give them the opportunity to show you that they're listening and they're trying. And with Enzio, certainly that approach has worked. But he knows he can't let any standards drop, because we've now signed Tom Walker. Callum Roberts hopefully might not be as bad as we first feared. So if we can get these players back, I'm going to have a real tough decision.
And in terms of Callum, obviously that brings us onto it nicely. Is there any progress on that? I know we asked you about it on Wednesday. I mean, is he likely to be back for the festive period, or do you think it'll be the new year?
I don't know is the answer. All I know is that we've looked at, you know, every way of trying to find out exactly what the issues are, and we feel like we have got a stranglehold on it now. It's more positive than we felt, and you know, with the right sort of rehab, and this is where Cal's going to play a big part in it, because Cal needs to do everything right. With the right rehab, we believe that, you know, it is a sort of 2 to 4 week job. Now, if it's 2 weeks and he gets back out on the training field, it will be obviously, you know, potentially back end of December he might be, you know, in and around training and seeing what happens. If it's 4 weeks, then it'll be the new year, but I don't think any of us quite know yet.
In terms of injuries, have you got anybody coming back? I know you said Wes Thomas was probably going to be the back quickest. Is he going to be available for the weekend, and is anybody else going to be sort of fit?
Well, Wes Thomas is back training now, so we feel like he's over the worst. So it's now with Wes just getting the minutes into his legs. So whether I decide Saturday or whether I, look at next week for him, it's by the by. Alex Lacey's back training, but again, his is like a bit of a sort of load management. So, Alex has still got pain, but it's just a case of him realising that the pain threshold's going to be at, 2 or 3 out of 10 rather than 9 out of 10 like it was before, and he's going to have to try and sort of battle through with that. So that one's a bit of watch this space, and with Alex, I need to see him out on the training field, need to see that he's aggressive and back to his best physically, or as close to it as he can get, before I can make a judgment call on whether Alex is up to being back in the squad as well. Damien's doing loads of running, straight line, it's getting better every day, so we're getting closer with him, but again, he's going to need a little bit of full-time training and building up, and then Sam Graham, we're hopeful will be probably a week or so away from now, so we could go into the festive period with a lot of them back in the throw.
Richard Brindley, by the way, was it?
Yeah, Brins has been out there today and trained, so he's icing it down after training now, because it was a nasty whack on the top of the foot. So it's one of them ones, particularly on your right foot, that when you strike a ball, there's no hiding place. The ball will hit the top of that foot every time. So, but he's been out, he's trained, and we try to put him through his paces. So as long as that settles down and he's not worse for it, then Brins potentially could be in contention.
And obviously, you've changed the formation the last 2 games of the 4-2-3-1. What was the reason behind that, and how pleased have you been with the way the players have taken to the formation? Because it certainly looks to have benefited certainly a lot of the attacking players. I mean, I think, what was it, 27 shots against Wealdstone last Friday. As a manager, what made you decide to switch?
Well, particularly it was the Wealdstone game. So the way Wealdstone like to play brave, they're very comfortable going 2v2 at the back, because they like to try and dominate possession. So we decided we didn't want to play 2 up front in that game and just play to their strengths and just sort of make it a man-for-man job around the pitch. We wanted to try and create overloads. And the 4-3-3 that we sometimes play with a number 4 and with 2 8s, we felt we could get pinned back in. So we wanted to try and cause a different problem to a team in a particular game tactically, and it worked very, very well. We then went to the Dagenham game, and we just felt, well, the boys had a good rhythm on Friday. We won't try and change too much. But there will be games when that's not the right way to approach the game, and there will be games when you think 2 centre forwards up against them will cause them problems. Sometimes it will be with a 10 helping out of his midfield, and sometimes when we play it with a 4-3-3 with 2 8s and a 4, the 2 8s are both expected to play like 10s and make forward runs and bomb in, so that's probably even more attacking in many ways, because you've only got one sitting midfielder. So I like to have different systems in the locker. Sometimes you have to change to them during games, sometimes you have to change from game to game.
And just on Woking, I mean, obviously the table at the moment looks absolutely chaos. I mean, obviously you've got a point on Wednesday and moved from 12 to 6. How do you see the table shaping up, and do you expect it to be like last season, where teams just begin to fall away from being up there at the top?
I don't think you really know whether they'll fall away or not. You can't presume that they will. If they're doing something right over a 10-game period, what's not to say they can't do it right for the next 25 to 30? So I don't know about other teams. I can only focus on us. I'm very fortunate because I can sort of look at quite a bit of data to analyse how we're doing, where we can do better, and how other teams are doing. So I get sort of access to a lot of looking at that. And the league table, the old saying the league table doesn't lie is actually a lie. It does lie quite often, and it doesn't always tell the full story of who's the best team or who's playing the best. And at the moment on a lot of our data, we're very strong. That hasn't come out. We're probably 2 or 3 points short of where what we possibly should have. So I look at points per game. What trajectory we're on, what line are we on target, and if we can keep sort of in and around that sort of line we need to be on, then a strong finish would put us in a great position.
And finally, just on Ben Turner, he took a fair bit of stick after the Halifax game from a few supporters. How pleased have you been with his form since then? Because him and Conor Rawlinson have been superb in the last 2 games.
Yeah, it was, Ben was down more than anybody, and you've got an old-fashioned centre half who likes to put his head on things, and he knows he could have probably headed it clear rather than let it run across his body. But it's all very easy to give Ben stick for that mistake. I mean, you probably need to look further up the pitch. We had a throw-in in the top left-hand corner of the pitch, and maybe look at the people that were taking the throw-ins as well and say, well, that should never come out of that corner in the first place. So we don't do blame culture, and that's the one thing I said afterwards. We win together and we lose together. Throwing blame after an event is going to do no one any good, and certainly isn't going to help our team spirit. So we put our arms around Ben, we put our arms around everybody, the whole squad, and we got a response the following week, and we've had a response since.
And obviously you're down to bare bones in the defence at the minute. Is that right?
Well, yeah. We had Damien out, Brindley out, Alex Lacey out, Sam Graham out. That's 4 of your 8 defenders missing. So that was the case on Wednesday. So obviously we went in a little bit on tender hooks, but we managed to come through it, and hopefully Richard Brindley will be okay. Alex Lacey's back training now, so with a bit of luck we might have just sort of got through that little period, and if we don't get too much more, then we should be all right going forward.
Lovely stuff, mate. All right, well listen, best of luck for Saturday, pal, and I'll see you then.
Cheers, Lee. Jay.
Hi Neil, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good stuff. Just a quick couple of follow-up questions. I really think the fellas have asked most of what I wanted to ask. But of course, Tom Walker came on for his debut against Dagenham on Wednesday. What have you made of him in the short time he's been here?
I'm impressed. Nothing that I've seen doesn't go with what I was hoping for in training. Once or twice, Monday and Tuesday last week, he left 2 or 3 people for dead. And left them standing still, which is what I know he can do. I was impressed with how good his right foot was. I know how good his left is. Today his finishing was exceptional. So yeah, it's just a case of getting him in to the way we play. Making sure that his work ethic matches the rest of the squad, which I'm sure it will. He seems like a really good lad, and I think he'll bring a lot to us. He'll certainly give me a lot more options, with picking and choosing how I go about certain games.
Great stuff. And just finally, of course, we've seen this week that the Premier League have granted some funding for the EFL. Of course, the National League received a bailout from government of around 10 or 11 million pounds. Would you like to see the National League secure potentially a bit more backing and funding from the leagues above to help you guys sustain the leagues? Or
I think that's above my pay grade to be commenting on. I don't know how it all works and the politics within it. All I've ever asked for, when I've been in the National League, is to try and get the professionalism and the standards the same as the EFL, because I think that's that's where we aspire to be, like an extension of the EFL. As far as finances go, that's for a lot more brainier people than I am to go with the economics of it all.
Great stuff. Wish you well for tomorrow, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.